we're going to go through some neighborhoods of Chicago and some suburbs of Chicago. And the importance of all this is I want people not just to know what's going on in the North Shore or the North Suburbs, but what's going on all over Chicagoland. And the way we ranked this was roughly by income, good schools, hospital access, restaurants, demographics. The data is imperfect though, but it gives a pretty good picture if you want a more precise ranking by specific weights. I can build that for you if it's another part of Chicago. So the first neighborhood that we're going to talk about is Lincoln Park. So one of the things about Lincoln Park is there's about 67,000 people who live in Lincoln Park. And let's pinpoint it for you. Okay, so Lincoln Park is right here. Now it's very affluent, lots of high-end housing, restaurants, shops, good schools, private schools. The other schools are okay. Proximity to several hospitals, high demand among families and professionals. The median income shown in some sources is around 150,000. So I actually lived for many years in Lincoln Park, love Lincoln Park, but a lot of reasons people leave Lincoln Park is because of their children, because of the schools. Public schools are not considered great in Chicago, but private schools are. But that's if you can get into private schools. They're very difficult to get in. They have a small population. They take people from their own family. So it's really an amazing thing. So that's Lincoln Park. Next, we're going to talk about the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast is right here. It's a historic luxury housing, prime lakefront, very high incomes, dense restaurant scene, very walkable, and there's hospitals nearby. It's one of the beauties of living in Chicago are all the hospitals. There's about 14,000 people who live in the Gold Coast. It's mostly condos. The Playboy Mansion was there. It's a pretty cool place. It's very high. Next is North Center. So we're going to look for North Center, which is right here. And North Center, again, is this whole area has high incomes. So it has a residential feel. It has good schools, lots of restaurants, Lincoln Avenue. That's what it's known for. And there's about 35,000 people who live there. That's a pretty big, for such a small area, that's pretty big. It's pretty cool. Next, we're going to look at West Town, which is right here. So West Town is trendy. It's got a younger population, many dining options, good mix of housing, strong amenities, income is very high, and West Town has a population, if I could get that for you, of about 40,000 people. So it's these little pocket towns, these neighborhoods are really phenomenal. And, it started out by everything being happening in the Loop. The Loop is, Chicago. We're going to get to that in a minute. But before we get quite to the Loop, we're going to get to Bucktown. And Bucktown, it was just next to Lincoln Park. So we're talking about Bucktown being right here. So it's right next to Lincoln Park. Bucktown is trendy. It has many dining options. There are some hospitals in that area. And that's the beauty too of living in Chicago. There's quite a few hospitals, and that's what people are looking for, especially older people. And that's why they tend to move out to the suburbs too, because keep in mind, a lot in Chicago is 25 by 125. That's not a big lot. And the town could be very, very expensive. You could be paying a couple $1,000,000. There's a lot of new construction in this whole area. And that's really what they do. So you have to really be, you have to decide where you want to be and realize that you have all these options. And they're great options again. And there's also a lot of restaurants, a lot of shopping. Next is Wicker Park, which is right here. Again, it's young. They're building there. New construction is big in these areas. But you're talking about $1,200,000, $1,300,000. Okay, that's what it costs to buy new construction in any of these areas. So you've got to prepare yourself for the income that's necessary to live in these areas, okay? Next, we're going to look at the near south side. So right as we go down south a little bit, that's a little too far. So we're right in here, and we're going to talk about the near south side. Now, people like to live, it's right here, close to the city. And sometimes living south is less expensive than living north. So it has many medical facilities in the south. It's good access, obviously, to downtown, growing residential appeal, higher income in many parts. It can be very expensive, but it's less expensive than some of the other places. Next is the South Loop and the Loop. Now, this is where it all starts, right? The Loop is the major area of Chicago that most people work. Now, there's tons and tons of high rises there. There's tons and tons of condos. There's tons of businesses in the South Loop. And it has high incomes. It has many high rise condo areas. It's got excellent amenity access, many restaurants, and a lot of cultural institutions. And most of these high rises all have doormen. So right away, your assessments just jump $900 because of that. And that's okay, because that's what people want, and that's why they live there. So the Loop is where it's at. The Loop is where most people work. The Loop, there's many ways to get to the Loop. So one way to get to the Loop is obviously driving. Another way is we have great train systems. We have subways, and it all takes you to the Loop. So that's very, very cool. Next is Old Town. Old Town is right here. It used to be a hippie area. It's got historic charm, strong dining, shopping, high property values, and good schools. Now, good schools, like I say, is a little bit of a question mark because city schools are not fabulous.
Thinking about relocating to Chicago, Illinois, and neighboring suburbs? Well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research. And I've linked it down below, from top employees, the best hospitals, and a boatload of other things that you need to know before making the move. The best part of this guide, it's 100% free. That's right, you heard it right from me, 100% free. Just click the link in the description or the top pinned comment, and I hope that helps. In fact, I know it will help.
Next, we're going to end it in neighborhood-wise with Lakeview. So this is where Wrigley Field is, where the Cubs play. It's become very high end. There's about 100,000 people who live in Lakeview. It's got tons of amenities, restaurants, nightlife, desirable places to live. Income is strong. I mean, it is really a hot area in Lakeview. So these cover the neighborhoods of Chicago that are considered in the top 10. And next, we're going to go to the north, well, not the north suburbs, but any suburb in the Chicagoland area. Now, most are in the north, but there are some south suburbs that are really outstanding when it comes to that, like Hinsdale, like Naperville, two great towns, Burr Ridge, Elmhurst, Glendale Heights. So we're going to get to that in a minute, but I want to give you a good idea. And also the other thing about this is that there's easy access to O'Hare Airport. So O'Hare Airport, show you in a second. So the airport typically goes into this area right in here. So this is really where easy to get to the airport, easy to get down to downtown Chicago. And there's so much else in downtown Chicago. Some of the greatest restaurants, Bulls, Bears, everybody, all the sports teams play there. It's very, very cool there. So now we're going to move to the suburbs of Chicago. Now, a lot of these better suburbs happen to be in the North Shore, but not every single one. Let's talk about each one. The first one is Kenilworth. Now, Kenilworth is really a small little suburb, and we're going to take a look at Kenilworth here first. So let's see, Kenilworth, right in here is Kenilworth. Now, remember, a lot of people come to the suburbs for schools, for parks, for homes, for backyards, for everything they can get in Chicago, but more. As you can see here, that Chicago is the cornerstone for all these suburbs. But Kenilworth often top in median household income rankings, very affluent, excellent schools, strong community infrastructure. It's a very small suburb as it only has about 3,000 people, but actually 2,500 people. But the median household is 250,000. Now, to be honest, the numbers here don't go up over 250. And that's one of the issues. Now, actually, the most high-end suburb is really right here, which is Winnetka. Very high income, highly rated schools. Now, most of these north suburb towns, which are all on Lake Michigan, high school wise, go to New Trier, where there's about 5,000 kids and 2 campuses. It's considered one of the top high schools. All the feeding in schools, lower schools, middle schools, elementary schools feed into New Trier, and you can't beat it. You just can't. And they're just all wonderful towns. Now, when that only has 12,475 people that live there, and their median price range is also 250,000 because that's as high as it goes. And that's the way it is. Now, the next town we're gonna skip into the southwest suburbs, and go to a place. I used to love this place, even though I grew up on the north side. We used to go to Hinsdale, where in Hinsdale, they had the Hinsdale Health Museum. That's somewhere we used to go all the time from our school to visit that. So it's a pretty cool place, and I'm going to come up with it in a minute. But before I do, we're going to go back up to the North Shore and go to Glencoe. So Glencoe is right in here, right between Highland Park and Kenilworth. About 22,000 people live in Glencoe. It's affluent, it's a beautiful lakefront, strong, great schools because you're back to New Trier. And the other thing about Glencoe, again, it's a 250,000 median price range. There's 8,800 people who live in Glencoe. I was just there on Thursday playing golf. Wonderful little golf course that they have there, a little expensive, but what the heck. It's the first time I've played there in many years and really enjoyed myself with one of my buddies. Just the two of us played. A little expensive, but hey, that's the way it is sometimes. So that's Glencoe. Now, when we go north to a very affluent area is Lake Forest, which is right here. Now, Lake Forest has larger lots, strong private and public schools. It's different high school. It's Lake Forest High School. They have fantastic hospitals in that area. Northwestern Hospital, which originally started in Chicago, has this big, beautiful hospital in Lake Forest. And there's other hospitals there as well. It's amenity rich downtown. It's really a special town. There's about 19,367 people who live in Lake Forest. So it's pretty wonderful there. And now it also is in Lake County. So Lake County, which really Glencoe is the end of Cook County. And then there's Highland Park, which is Lake County, and Lake Forest. The property taxes are actually about a half a point higher in that area. From there, we go down to Wilmette, super suburb right here. A lot of very wealthy people live in Wilmette. There's the Cubs owner lives in Wilmette. And again, it's schools, which is New Trier. There's 28,000 people live in Wilmette. Wilmette borders Lake Michigan, and then it borders Glenview, which is a top suburb as well. And 28,000 people. Now, the median price range here is about 190,000. So it's pretty unique. Next is Northbrook, which is Cook County right here. As you can see, it's a little bit west of Lake Michigan, and it just has everything, a good mix. Now, this is Glenbrook North High School. It can go to 2 others. It can go to New Trier, but typically most people in Northbrook go to Glenbrook North, and most people in Glenview go to Glenbrook South. But it's just one of the best. It's a great area. It has great homes. You can get things a little bit less expensive there, though. So it's not just about that. Now there's about 37,000 people who live in Northbrook. So it's really a wonderful suburb. And it's a big move when you're coming from the south from the south suburbs or the south part of Chicago, or actually the north part of the city, they like to go where it's a drop less expensive in Northbrook and Glenview than it will be in Lake Forest or Glencoe or Winnetka, which is very expensive. And it's a highly chosen place with great schools and parks and shopping, and it has everything. So after Northbrook, we go into Glenview. Now, of course, I love Glenview. And one of the reasons I love Glenview is I've lived there for 25 years. I own the first real estate company in Glenview. There's about 48,000 people. I live in a subdivision called the Glen, where we have our own little city there that has about 120 shops and restaurants, and it's very cool. People come from all over to visit. Schools are wonderful. South is the main high school in Glenview. So it's a wonderful town. There's also another downtown in Glenview. So it's not just the Glen, but there's also downtown Glenview. Now, one of the great suburbs in my eyes is right out here, which is Naperville. Now you can see the difference of going from the north suburbs to the south suburbs. Okay. And you can see how far it is. Actually, from Glenview, it's about 50 miles to get to Naperville. Naperville is a large suburb, excellent schools. They have a couple of really sensational high schools in Naperville. And the median income is around 153,000. There's about 149,000 people who live there. They have great schools. They have great everything, great restaurants. I don't get to Naperville very much, but it is a wonderful, wonderful suburb that if somebody wants to live, and it's also from Naperville, it's 50 miles to get downtown. So when you're talking about like Glenview, which is about 12 miles to downtown Chicago, Naperville makes it a lot further to do that. Now, there are trains, so you've got all that, but it becomes a little bit of a more difficult commute to get to those places. So, but it is an outstanding, outstanding town.
Hey guys, it's Barry Newman. As much as I love making these videos, there's one thing I love more, and that's helping families and people from all over the United States make the move here to Chicago. I've helped countless families make the move. So whether you're coming out next week, next month, or even next year, don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information is right here and linked in the description in case you miss the on-screen pop-up. I look forward to helping you and your family make the move to Chicago.
Now, another town which is really great is Elmhurst. You can see it's not quite as far away from downtown. Again, excellent schools. Now, as you can see, there's tons and tons of south suburb areas, but they're not known as well. There's a couple of really good towns, and one that I left out before is Hinsdale. So you've got a group of towns right here: Hinsdale, Oak Brook, Elmhurst, Naperville, all wonderful, wonderful places. And in Hinsdale, very high income levels, great schools. They have a wonderful, wonderful hospital there. People come from all over to go to that hospital. And there's 17,000 people who live in Hinsdale. So it's not a big suburb, but it's a hell of a great suburb. And that's really big. Now, Oak Brook, which will cut us right between Elmhurst right here, is another one of those exceptional south suburbs that people flock to. They love this town. It's a wonderful town, Oak Brook. It has about 22,000 people. The median income there is about $122,000, and you can't beat it. So one last town that I want to talk about, which is a very high-end town, is called Burr Ridge. And Burr Ridge, if I could find it here, has some enormous properties. Some very famous people live in Burr Ridge. I probably won't be able to find it on this map, but let me see. It's a little bit further south, and that's one of the issues here. So it's hard to get it, but Burr Ridge is really in this area here, but it has amazing everything, but far. So that's the difference between going into like the north suburbs or going into the southwest suburbs. So when we rate these towns, The way they're rated at this point is Kenilworth, Lincoln Park, near North Gold Coast, Streeterville, Winnetka, Lakeview, Hinsdale, Glencoe, North Center, and Naperville. And some of the top suburbs were in there as well. So we had neighborhoods and we had suburbs, and that's what makes Chicago such a special place. There's so much here to do. There's great places to live, and there are other great places to live in the Chicagoland area. One of the places that I'm getting a lot of people who are moving from New York or California, and they tell me they want to live in near downtown, but the lots are small. They want a pool. You can't put a pool in when you're a 25 by 125 lot. And I tell them about Barrington. Now, Barrington, there's 5 areas in Barrington, and I'll show them to you because it's an outstanding area. So this is Barrington Hills right here. And then what's luxurious is South Barrington. The homes are just enormous. Now, most of these homes, even in Barrington, here's Barrington, here's North Barrington, here's Lake Barrington. So for about $2.5 million, you could pick up a 7,000 square foot house with a pool, with 6-car garage, and 7 to 10 acres. Now, most people are looking to scale back a little bit, but those that really want to live in luxury, live with a lot of land and a lot of exterior things like having a great pool. There's indoor pools. It's also a great area for horses. There's a lot of horse farms out here. So if you really like horse farms, but I all the time tell my clients who are coming from New York or are coming from California that Barrington can offer them a lot. And there's a great hospital. It's 30-minute drive to O'Hare Airport. And I love Barrington, but there's those people who are trying to scale down a bit, don't want as much land to take care of. Of course, a lot of the land is wooded. So there's not as much to take care of. But as far as luxurious living in a mansion, it's a great place to live. So we've now covered the suburbs, we've covered the neighborhoods of Chicago, and now it's just about, if you like this video, give me a like. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me, and we could, figure something out for you as well if you're coming here. There's a lot of suburbs we didn't even talk about. A lot of less expensive suburbs like Buffalo Grove or Wheeling or Mount Prospect or Des Plaines or Niles or Skokie. There's so many, Palatine, and there's some higher end ones too that we didn't talk about, like Hawthorne Woods or Long Grove. So there's really a lot of great places to live in Chicago. So please feel free to contact me. I look forward to meeting with you, talking to you, and hopefully we'll be in touch. Okay. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate that more than anything. Bye.